Unequal education funding in public schools. Meet Bruce Biddle of the University of Missouri and David Berliner of Arizona State University. Bruce Biddle is a retired professor who continues his scholarly endeavors by researching topics such as the role of the teacher, classroom interaction, and fraudulent attacks on American public education. He has written many books on American education and the issues with school systems. David Berliner is a Regents Professor at Arizona State University. He has received numerous awards for his educational contributions, and he has co-authored books with Bruce Biddle. Biddle and Berliner believe that when citizens understand the huge size difference in funding and the way it affects the United States, that most people will be more likely to support ways of providing more equitable funding. Biddle and Berliner said, "Most people believe that students do better in well-funded schools and that public education should provide a level playing field for all children." Close quote. But when schools are funded through local taxes, it creates a large difference in funding between wealthy communities and poverty-stricken communities. Public school funding in the U.S. comes from federal, state, and local sources. In an article written by Bruce Biddle, he stated that federal funds supply less than 10% of all costs involved in running public schools. Large funding differences appear state by state, meaning, for example, Alaska's public school districts rank in the 95th percentile, receiving an average of $16,546 per student for a year, but schools ranking at the 5th percentile received only $7,379 on average. Biddle and Berliner presented this statistic and said, "Disparities such as these are simply not tolerated in other developed countries where public schools are normally funded equally from state taxes, in rich and poor communities alike." Close quote. In 1998, New Jersey was receiving more than twice as much funding per student than Utah was. Utah was actually receiving the lowest amount of funding compared to all other 49 U.S. states. Biddle and Berliner's research has found that the level of funding is tied to the effects of student achievement. Achievement scores from the U.S. school districts where funding is high and poverty is low are compared to those of the highest scoring countries on international tests, and vice versa, in districts where funding is low and poverty is high are compared to scores from the lowest scoring countries. Biddle and Berliner believe that even if schools were adequately funded, the spending habits aren't beneficial to students. Legislative mandates raised the cost of funding for public schools, but the increases weren't used to gain additional resources that would aid in education quality. Biddle and Berliner found from research that 1/3 of gained budget went to support special education students, 8% went to dropout prevention programs and counseling, another 8% went to expanding school lunches, and 28% went to increasing the salaries of the aging teacher population. Very few dollars went to providing necessary materials that aid in basic educational instruction. Biddle and Berliner's solution are changes in federal policies to provide funding which would attract better teachers, leading to reduced class sizes, which raises student achievement and quality in education. Biddle and Berliner said, "It seems obvious that students from disadvantaged families will suffer the most from unequal school funding.